I told Will that it sounded like a joke. A York City councillor and businessman by the name of Hardly Good had, allegedly, authorized the sale of part of the city walls. I presumed to line his own pocket. "This has nothing to do with us," I shrugged, when he showed me the news article. "Since when did we deal with local politics? Don't you think that it seems a bit too soap opera?" Will had a point there. His name was definitely a tad over the top, like something an EastEnders hack might come out with. Hardly Good? That can't have been his real name. I still reckoned it had nothing to do with us. One evening arguing, and a long, claustrophobic ride the next morning, I ended up condemned in the demonic clusterfuck of York's one-way system. The exhaust of a pie van filling my lungs with its smoggy bisto. Instead of flogging the city architecture, the council would be better off stopping people in pie vans trying to drive into the middle of a medieval city. The traffic would move about 5 inches forward and stop again for no reason. When this happened for the 50 millionth time, screaming and swearing out loud, I decided I'd had enough. I pulled my helmet off and started playing with the sat-nav, glaring jealously at a child in a pushchair who was going faster than me. My destination, St. Helens Square, was a minute's ride away, down the street to my right. But I apparently couldn't go down there, because of the idiotic one-way system. With this traffic, it would take me half an hour to get where I needed, instead of a minute. Leave the bike? Walk? No chance, matey. Some lunatic had gone mad with the double yellows. The whole road was overmarked, if you ask me. "Why do you exist?" I shouted up one of the lines, getting some funny looks from pedestrians passing by. Fuck it. With some gasps and tuts from onlookers and other drivers, I dared to challenge society, and took the right turn. I was tempted to go faster than the speed limit, but since there were pedestrians and cyclists all over the road, I thought better of it. They were already scattering out of my way anyhow. I would also lose my helmet, which was hanging off one of the handlebars, if I did that. Turning the corner, I skidded to a halt in front of an archway, between a pub and a fancy crystal shop. This was it. But again, the council were conspiring against me. Yellow lines, a huge pedestrianised area, and the gates of the archway shut. The lines hadn't stopped some white van man parking there, so I figured it would be no problem leaving the bike by the pavement until I'd opened the gate. Not even a traffic warden would begrudge me those few seconds. This really wasn't my day, and I caught the attention of 15 feckless tourists by screaming and banging my head against the bars. Some idiot, Dylan, had padlocked it. Scowling, I realized the gate opened just enough to allow me to squeeze through. I'd make Dylan pay for this. The only reason we kept him on the company payroll was because he was family. He wasn't all that bright, and the only thing he was good for was intimidation. He wasn't all that good at that either. He was older than Will and me, but he was practically still a child, especially when it came to attitude. That's what happens when you can't be bothered to move out of your parental cube. You stay a child. I found the office. Battered green door with a broken lion's head knocker, at the end of the alley. The faded, going rusty brass nameplate, by the side, still held the old company name, Nitidus. Nobody had bothered to alter it when they changed the name to Queddle, in a futile attempt to escape our psychotic enemies. The bell didn't work. It was one of those old ones that look a bit like a domino, with yellowy tape stuck haphazardly over the bottom. It must have been 25 years old. It says a lot about a place, when the doorbell is older than the man pushing it. This was just all kinds of cribbage. Shitty 5-hour ride over here, stuck for ages in the one-way system, gate locked, doorbell out of order. It was going to get worse. Dylan wasn't answering his phone. "Dylan!" I shouted up at the office window. I threw a stone to attract his attention. "Dylan, you little gumpert!" I threw another stone. He knew I was coming. He'd acknowledged the text message I'd sent when I was half an hour out. "It left about 5 minutes ago, mate," I heard somebody say. They'd come from a side door of the pub, carrying about 5 bin bags. Typical. Bloody typical. Dylan had the attention span of a screwdriver. One of those small ones you get in Christmas crackers. "You got a key for the gate?" I asked. He did, and said he'd open it for me. I headed back to the square, angry and pissed off. More pissed off when I saw that things had gotten yet worse. Why does this always happen? Why does God treat our lives like a depraved choose-your-own-adventure book, where each choice only leads to a string of even more awful events? There was a police officer standing by my bike, taking the registration. She was this ferocious-looking woman, a woman who would have been more useful as an intimidator than Dylan ever could. I suppose that she was one of those who imposed the law with the clenched fist of Sylvester Stallone, and the table manners of Hannibal Lecter. "This your bike?" she interrogated, folding her arms. Police officers, under any circumstance, make me clam up. When they're folding their arms and staring me down, I'm so nervous that I can't open my mouth. I just think about being handcuffed and frog-marched into a building that smells too much like a mixture of aged vomit and flowery disinfectant. I stared, dumb. "Lost your tongue, pretty boy?" I could only shake my head. "Go on, is that your bike?" I was able, at last, to unconfidently squeak out an answer. "Isn't it a bit unprofessional of you to call me pretty boy?" "I asked you a question first. Is this your bike?" "Yeah, it's mine," I lied. It was actually one I'd borrowed from the garage, as mine had started growing something dodgy in the exhaust pipe. I think this had been my dad's. I was just taking it down the alley. The officers sneered at the now open gate. "Down there?" I nodded, and the officers sneered again. "I tell you what, get this bike and your pretty boy ass down the alley, and I won't arrest you for being a prick." "Ass?" I sniggered, ignoring how harsh calling me a prick was. "Something funny, pretty boy?" "No, I just don't think I've got an ass to haul down the alley." She wasn't impressed. "Just get down the alley before I have you arrested." "Yes, ma'am." I noticed, as I reached the alley, that she was still watching me. So, in a bit of cheek, I wiggled my non-existent ass at her. I heard her huff from 5 meters away before she stormed off. Only now did Dylan bother to turn up, waddling casual as you like around the corner. I didn't say anything, only blinked a couple of times. "Sorry, I know I said I'd meet you here, but look!" He pulled a pair of ticket-looking things out of his jacket pocket. "A friend said he could get me tickets for the Shambles Club." What is the Shambles Club?